Hey guys, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. Some of you know me on Twitter, The Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Far Beyond the World. So, I just got off work, dusted out my computer. It's nice and hot today. I wouldn't say nice. Nice and hot are usually two things I do not put in the same sentence. But yeah, I'm ready to bring you some more content. So we're doing more Far Beyond the World, and this picks up right after Cora and Tano. You know, their little bicker. A little bit of bickering going on. They kind of fight kind of like siblings. But anyway, guys, let's jump right back into it. Please sit back and enjoy. Let me take you for the next 20 minutes, and let's jump right in. Alarm chain, you're up. All right. Okay. Oh, I can help with that. I was making quiches for the pups for later. I could spare one or two. Great. That should keep him going throughout the day. Let me fetch them. I give Tano a suspicious look. Not really sure where this care comes from. He was obviously only paying attention to me at the feast because of Rannoch, but Rannoch's not here. What is your game? You want to butter me up, but you shove me into a preheated oven? We wait in silence for the female to come back, but she doesn't take long. She rushes out towards me smiling and passes two decent-sized quiches with spring onion sprinkled on top. Here you go, love. A tart from a tart. I chuckle, immediately thinking I will go to hell for that. I shouldn't call her names when she's being nothing but kind towards me. See? You're much better when you're back to your old self. Rannoch would... Can we please stop talking about Rannoch? Mel finally snaps. Not everything is about him. Cora only sighs, shaking her head in amusement as she returns home. Males. Tano stands there for a while, as if thinking something over, but eventually he picks up the bucket and we walk back towards the cottage. Once there, he plops it at the foot of the steps, and it's just as well, as I did not intend to invite him in. Rannoch would definitely not be happy if I did. Well, have a good one. Oh, and one more thing. He stops mid-turn, tapping his neck. Whatever caused this, there's more where that came from. I narrow my eyes, as I'm not sure if it's meant to be a threat or a warning. If he implies that Rannoch did it, he's stark raving mad. But if he means Vul, then he should probably know. Bet the blackmail kicked his ass more than once. I stand there, fuming and watching the coy wolf walk away. To my surprise, his tail sways from side to side as if he suddenly regained his good humor. Is he fucking with me again? Ugh! I put the quiches onto the table and retrieved the bucket from the outside. This time around, I decided to be more frugal with water. I used as little as possible to wash up, while keeping the rest in the bucket. Because it's so warm, I don't need to fiddle with fire, so I simply sit back in the chair and enjoy the delightful quiche. It's very hearty and cheesy, with bits of ham and onion in between. Cora's got baking paws, taking after her father, that's for sure. She's also good-looking and well-mannered. Come to think of it, Dreher is quite handsome as well. Apples really do not fall far from the tree. Some people have it all. Then again, it feels like everyone in this tribe is hot, so maybe it's not just Vithir's loins that spawn golden offspring. As my bored and pointless musings begin to drag on, I look around for something to kill time with. I'm fairly certain I'll be left to my own devices, unless I fetch Verissa, but I would rather not face the female while sporting a massive bruise. That would cause another shit show, and I've seen far too many as of late. Reluctantly, I stand up and walk towards the cupboard. I remember the title mentioning 6 tribes. Now, having more context, I'm sure it speaks of the wolves. I locate it immediately and fetch it back to the table. The volume is quite impressive, with beautifully decorated pages and very intricate writing. The 6 tribes of Tiernan. Just as I remembered. The table of contents shows that the book divides into 6 sections, each dedicated to one tribe. The tribes are as follows. Tiernan, Brecilian, Guldurin, Arden, Lothian, and Anwin. Sounds like an introduction to the Lord of the Rings. The boring edition. Wait, wasn't there like an accompanying textbook that very few people read? Yeah, the Silmarillion. Silvermillion or something along those lines? Ugh! Those things I remember make me feel like I'm reliving my very own freaking fairy tale. I even have a prince! I realize he's not as well situated as they usually are, given his domain consists of this very rustic cottage. Although charming, it's more fitting for the 7 dwarves. I chuckle and return to my read. Tiernan, along with Brecilian, compose the heart of the forest. They also share a majestic lake between them called Tremolin. Apparently it's a breathtaking stretch of water, and the description almost makes me wish for a visit there. It's a favorite summer spot for local wolves. Pups have been playing in the shallows for generations, while others lounge around the beaches. Oh, are we gonna get a beach episode? Are we gonna get a beach episode? A lake in the woods does seem like a perfect holiday spot, not gonna lie. According to tradition, the lake itself is enchanted and its waters have healing powers thanks to a fae residing within its depths. I smile, realizing those wolves, as fantastical as they seem, have legends of their own to share. Thanks to deep familial ties and shared folklore, Tyranids and Brazilian were allied for many centuries. It would seem that the militarized way of life those wolves enjoy is driven from millennia-old tradition of warfare. Whenever they're not fighting others, they fight amongst themselves. Another ally of Tyranids, although less faithful and much younger, seems to be Arden, also called the High Forest. It's inhabited by the oldest and tallest trees, reaching all the way back to the youth of Sylvan. The wolves living there take deep pride in their ancient heritage and are extremely protective of their woods. Considering what happened to the tiger noble, I wonder what that extreme protectiveness entails. Can't be more extreme than killing someone over graffiti. Goldern is the northernmost reach of the woods. The wolves there are strong and industrious and have a reputation for warmongering. Given the militant nature of the Tyranid wolves, I wonder what that means. The book does not keep me hanging. Turns out it means the Golderin was an instigator of nearly half of all the wars, within and without these woods. Lothian stretches the mountain range hidden deep within the forest, with the highest peak called Amon Silva. That's where the respective tribe takes its residence. According to the book, Lothian flip-flopped during many conflicts, changing sides often more than once depending on the current winner. Pragmatic, but frowned upon by the remaining tribes for the lack of loyalty. I guess Rannoch was right about it being a woven virtue, which in a mixed bag of goods is definitely a redeeming gem of quality. The last place, called the Deep Forest, is Anwen. It is described as a trove of the most beautiful of groves and meadows, filled with bounty and joy. Wolves of Anwen surprisingly value peace and merriment, rarely even if ever participating in conflicts started by the other tribes. Despite the book trying to paint them as a debauched and decadent, I see them as quite the opposite, especially since the description frowns upon Anwen's openness to trade with the outsiders. Had it not been for Rannoch, I would have wondered why I haven't ended up in that forest instead. I chuckle, but my amusement doesn't last long. The more pages I flick through, the more details I stumble upon I would be better left without. Despite dates and names meaning nothing to me, I can make general sense of decades upon decades of systematic warfare. The tribes either banded together to raid and pillage other kin in nearby realms, or, if such consensus should not be reached, raided each other. The book glorifies one hero after another, describing how many burrows they put to the claw, or how many enemies laid slain under their paws. It became increasingly uncomfortable, especially since most of the targets were the otherkin, specifically of the Sylvan variety. I really hope this is just a history book, and the current affairs are much different. I'm thrown off by a sudden knock to the door. Cautiously, I place the book down onto the table and slowly approach. My main worry is a black male. I really don't know how our interaction would go right now. Orien, you there? Verissa's voice is no real comfort either, as I'm immediately reminded of the massive bruise I sport. Fuck. But I can't pretend not to be in, as that would cause an alarm, while trying to cover my neck would only draw more attention to it. I yank the door open, letting the female in. I'll have to bite another bullet. It's becoming a pattern here. She steps inside, giving me curious glances. Once the door is shut, I try to put on a brave smile, but to no effect. I see you're no longer at the butchery. I wonder why that might be, she states knowingly, her piercing gaze causing me to wince. I dart my eyes to the side, rubbing my arm in, unwittingly exposing the bruise. What's this? Bingo. She gently lifts up my chin to expose the neck. What happened? Her voice takes on a monotone, almost as if she had expected this. I really don't want to add fuel to the fire, and I feel that in part I was kind of asking for this. Vul is not a chatty type, and if you poke a wild wolf with a stick... We were sparring, I blurt out, surprising even myself. What? I was the one who insisted. I was tired of being teased as a weakling, so I asked Vul to give me a few pointers. Her eyes narrowed and her brow set on a single line, giving me a look of utter disbelief. He just got carried away. It doesn't take much to bruise me. I laugh awkwardly, but she still doesn't budge. We decided I should stay put until it's gone, so others won't jump to conclusions. She arches one brow, still not giving in. Seriously, if he wanted to hurt me, he would. It was just a silly accident. With Vul, hardly anything is an accident, but suit yourself. Finally, she shrugs me off and pulls out a chair. When I asked him where you were, he simply scoffed at me. I worried you might be left without any provisions, but I see you've gotten fresh water and food. How did that come about? Ah, shit. The water was from the spring. And how did you know where the spring was? I wince again, shutting my eyes and bracing for the worst. Tano took me there. Tano? She jolts up immediately. Are you serious? The female throws her gaze towards the table, blocking it with tarts. Those are Korra's, aren't they? I nod uncomfortably. Orien, you're supposed to keep away from the others. Tano is close to the elders, and as much as I like Korra, she's Vithir's daughter. You're playing with fire interacting with those two. Oh, for crying out loud, I knew it was lunacy to leave you in the care of that idiot. It's not entirely his fault. Not his fault, he was supposed to make sure you're safe and fed. Instead, I find you foraging around the village, left at the mercy of the very wolves who could get us all exposed. The second time I get to hear her melodic growl, and it sends a shiver down my spine. She must have picked up on my growing anxiety. She cuts it off and gives me a rather startled look. I just stand there, almost like a child getting dressed down by their parent. Sorry, I don't mean to take this out on you. She finally sighs, releasing the pent-up anger. There's just a lot at stake here, and somehow everyone's acting as if this is just a game. Renek's suddenly bolting, ditching us with no offense to you, when he's the one who brought you here in the first place. And untaken. I shrug, giving her a weak smile. Then you have Vul, who thinks he can strong-arm people left and right. Not to mention you acting like a pup on the playground, cuddling up to every wolf you see. I'm just fed up with having to be the responsible one. She leans against the table, crossing her arms and looking into the distance. I really don't know what to say to her. It does seem that she's the only one keeping the scheme together. I'm about to speak up when her eyes lock on me again. Why aren't you wearing that dress? Her voice carries slight suspicion. Was he giving you heat over it again? Is that what caused this? She points to my neck. No! No! I try to avoid circling back to my row with Vul. I just didn't want to ruin it. Ruin it by wearing it around the house? Is it not comfortable? She asks with a hint of worry. No, it's great! You know what? You're right. I nod and rush towards the bedroom. I'll go put it on. Do you have any moonshine left, or did Vul chug it all down? The female calls out and unfurls the steel dress. I don't think there's any left, no. I'll go get some ale then, she mutters, while I pull the garment over my head. I hear the barrel's lid lift up and she scoffs. The ale is nearly gone as well. Yeah, I reply through an awkward chuckle, straightening the fabric and securing the waistline with the belt. There, all done. I smile, seeing her already seated at the table and taking an idle sip. Good. The female nods with approval. I didn't spend all that time fitting and stitching it together for you to treat it as a tablecloth. True. I mumble nervously, taking a seat and just watching her enjoy the drink. After her second sip, she breaks the silence and looks to me inquisitively. Are you going to join me, or is your intention to make this even more awkward? You're right, I could use one too. I agree and get up to fetch a mug. Since pretty much everything else is dirty, I have to strain myself to reach up for a spare one from the top shelf. I haven't done a proper wash up in a while, but knowing where the spring is, I can easily amend that. I dunk the tankard into the barrel, a little concerned about the remaining levels of the liquid. Those wolves do drink a lot. As I take my seat and lean back comfortably, I can see her gaze is still drilled into the distance. She's buried in thought. I cannot help but think she's worrying about the bruise. You all right? I try to nudge her and she blinks, as if stirred back to life. She gives me a deeply concerned look. This whole setup doesn't sit well with me. I don't know what Renek's thinking, and Vul... She sighs in defeat. He's just doing everything to prove me right. I think Vul is slightly overwhelmed by all this. In his own way, he's trying his best to look out for the both of you. It would do wonders if you could simply give him some time. I mutter reluctantly. It's not like I'm in a position to give her advice on how to deal with wolves she knew her whole life. But this is new to all of us. I kind of threw your group dynamic out of balance. It must be hard for him to understand, or let alone accept. The female muses for a moment and then gives me a kind of smile. You're an unusual person, Orien. I don't think I've ever met anyone as empathetic and forgiving as you. And again, I was raised among wolves. She scoffs in amusement. What do I know? A great deal more than I do, that's for sure. I laugh, causing her to chuckle. However, her voice hushes as her eyes land on the yellow flower resting inside the cup. That's a nice touch. Oh? Mm-hmm. She nods, crooning softly. Do you know the significance of dandelions? Their meaning? No, not really. I shake my head awkwardly, again feeling her knowing gaze on me. They're a flower of healing, but also hope. Between lovers, they're a promise of happiness and loyalty. She emphasizes, and I feel a blush creeping onto my face. Thankfully, she does not linger on it. But above all, they're a flower of chance, a wish away, a reminder that our dreams can come true if we only reach for them. So much meaning in such a small, simple thing. The female pets the dandelion softly, a gentle smile stretching across her muzzle. I find small, simple things the most beautiful. I mutter, not knowing why I said it, and she snickers. I said one small, simple thing about another. Small I might be, but did she just call me simple as well? At least your collar's a bit more subtle. Collar? She's definitely hinting at something. I try to hide my red cheeks behind the tankard, slowly slurping the ale. Rennick was only trying to cheer me up. I brush it off. Even if she seems supportive, I'm not about to admit to anything. Besides, the flower is of my choice. I just found them uplifting on a gloomy day. He's been stealing my resolve with them ever since. Consider it, too. The female sighs, toying with the dandelion. I cannot help but feel a bit bad. She's completely disheartened, and it becomes obvious she's hinting at the Black Wolf's shortcomings. Vul does seem to care about you a lot, you know, I mutter, drawing her surprised gaze. At first I think I might have crossed the line, but she's the one who started it. The female simply concedes in defeat. At times it feels like he does, but then he proves the exact opposite. For the most part, Vul acts as if he never knew any of us at all. She deflects, trying her hardest not to look emotionally invested into the subject. It's like she isn't right, though. It's not like she isn't right, though. Vul does seem to ignore many aspects of Rannick's personality. Perhaps he really doesn't know them. Rennick said that he has to keep his mask on at all times. Despite appearances of close friendship, they all seem to be miles apart. And if that's how Verissa feels... I'm sorry about that. I decided to be as frank as possible. I can't imagine how hard it had to be to deal with unwanted advances for so many years. It's not like that. She shakes her head. Vul has his moments. There were times when he was actually a sweet wolf. Oh? I raise my brow, not in disbelief. I've actually experienced those moments myself, but out of curiosity to hear more about that hidden side of him. It was when he finally understood their lives would not add up to a happy ever after. He stopped his obnoxious advances and became a really good friend. It's only recently that his stupid infantile infatuation of his reemerged. Do you know what caused it? I asked, taking another sip. Yes. His designated mate died a year ago. I nearly choke on my drink. I can't even imagine what it feels like to learn that someone you were matched with since childhood suddenly died. I'm so sorry. I blurt out automatically, completely thrown off. He isn't. The female points out with a shrug, and my confusion only grows. I'd say he was rather pleased. It has made him free to pursue his own desires. So, here we are. I thought your mating was always planned. Yes, it is, but you can only plan the first one. She states as if it were obvious. After that point, both sides are adults, and although they're expected to continue to mate with others, that's entirely their own affair. So there's no backup? Why would there be? Verissa shrugs. I mean, yes, if a designated match dies as a pup, then you find a replacement, but Vul's mate died shortly before the coming of age. Setting up what pretty much is an adult wolf with another match is both impractical but also impossible. How so? All wolves are spoken for since birth. There aren't any spares lying about. The female scoffs. Vul losing his mate so close to his coming of age meant that the elders could only sigh in defeat as another wolf slipped through their fingers. He's free to do whatever he likes in that department. It seems a bit cold and caring of Vul to shake off a death of a potential mate so easily, but then again, I guess I was right all along. They're not too keen on their designated hookups, especially if they have an eye for another. I guess the newfound freedom would be why his passion's reignited. Oh, that's just the half of it. She waves her paw, sloshing her drink around the mug. I watch as she empties it, giving me a curious look once the silence protracts. Well? I inquire. What's the other half? I see Tano begins to rub off on you. Why is everyone saying that? I blurt out, quickly reminded of Vul's remark. I'm only trying to get to know them. Perhaps because there's a grain of truth to it. I understand you pretty much have nothing better to do than gossip all day long, but I have work. Sorry, I didn't mean to pry or make you uncomfortable. Uncomfortable? No, I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy the conversation, but we have more important matters to worry about. The female sighs, standing up. Unfortunately for you, now that you've been out with Vul, it doesn't look good that you're no longer working for him. Almost as if he dismissed you, which could also reflect poorly on Rannoch. Shit, I haven't even thought about that. The whole ward-warden dynamic. Thankfully, I have some errands that you can assist me with. It will look as if I borrowed you for a day, squashing any potential rumors. And making me the most popular ward in town. I tease and she laughs again. Yes, indeed. What are the errands? Considering Rannoch's mission might be that of a rescue, we have to prepare for the worst. Alright guys, I'm going to pause it right there. It seems like the next episode we're actually going to be helping Verissa out with her tasks and making Vul jealous. It seems like we're doing that double time now between Cora and that other guy that she's into, and now Verissa and Rannoch. Man, Verissa and Vul. Man. Is this whole thing like a furry Hitch? A furry version of Hitch? It'd be funny. Can we get like a furry version of Hitch? I think that would be fantastic. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, leave a super thanks if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!